Here. Oh, no, yeah, Steve and we're all here.
It's all damn quiet. Sounds weird.
Oh, yeah.
Too quiet.
All right. Hear the tunes? Have a great show.
Do our best.
Okay.
Come with us on a journey into the unknown, the unexplained, and the unbelievable. We will test your senses and challenge your beliefs. A world where science and religion clash. Or do they? You will meet real people and hear real stories, but you will not believe. You will witness strange sights and hear strange sounds, but you will not believe. This is the New England Ghost Project. Welcome to the nightmare.
Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Ghost Chronicles right here on TojiNet Radio. I am Ron Kolick, your host, the gatekeeper of the realm of the unknown, the unexplained, and the unbelievable New England's own Van Helsing. And with me, my co-host, all the way in the frigid land of the Wales, is the gold standard in ghost hunting, the god of Redford Sound, the king of the Red Dragons, Steve Parsons. Almost got your name.
Not as frigid as it is in Savannah in Florida.
See, we can blame Dylan for that, right?
Blame global warming, I guess.
No, blame Dylan because he's the one that they never had anything until he went in Savannah and then it got snow. So I blame him.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
You know? I have to laugh too. Clay Rucker, a member of the Ghost Project, moved to Mobile, Alabama. They got more snow down there than we do here.
Well, we've got a 90-mile-an-hour storm tomorrow and a 75-mile-an-hour storm on Sunday heading our way.
Really?
Yep.
Where's that coming from? Not can't be from here. Oh yeah, coming from down south.
It's because of your jet stream.
Yeah. Oh, my jet stream.
Well, you're American. It's the new Trump jet stream. He's sending it towards Europe.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. So last week we talked about a lot of different things. No, we didn't. We played with that stupid soundboard and it was
Do you know, I've had about 5 or 6 messages saying how much people were laughing last week.
I would imagine because I turned back and laughed at it too. It was like so bad. You had to laugh.
I did have one complaining.
Ah, really?
Yeah.
And what was the complaint? Just curious.
Well, basically it said that they tuned in to get a paranormal show and they thought that we'd been possessed.
Well, it could very well happen, you know.
They still thought it was funny.
Yeah, they just thought we were possessed.
Yeah.
Anyway, what do I know?
I don't know.
Talked. We talked on the morning show about ghost lights because that's a popular thing. And listen, you guys out in the UK have quite a few of them. Have you what?
Well, particularly where I live in Wales, it's an absolute hotbed historically of what are called canoli corff, or the corpse candle, and they've been reported going way back to the 17th century.
Really?
They are a very well established part of Welsh folklore, and right where Pembrokeshire is one of those areas where they're frequent, I would have said. I mean, I can think of 4 well-documented corpse candle incidents. I mean, a long time ago, admittedly, the most recent being 1800 and something, but within 5 miles of where I am now.
Really?
They do seem to be. They're not that common in England, and if you go further east, but they're very common along the Irish Sea, western coastal fringe of Wales, also the Irish Republic, and into Cornwall. So it might be a sort of cultural thing, it might be a geological thing, um, it might be a paranormal thing.
I think that's the thing we don't understand. I've heard everything that it's a soul, it's a it designates where the fairies bury their gold. It's it's ball lightning, it's car headlights, it's geothermal plates rubbing against each other. I mean, all kinds of stuff. And the thing is, we really don't know what it is.
No, you're absolutely right. We don't. But I mean, there's some really interesting stories. I mean, the earliest reported corpse candle dates to the 5th century, and it comes from the city of St. David's, which is 12 miles from where I am.
Mhm.
The St. David, who is the Welsh patron saint, and that was his birthplace and cathedral city. Um, he um, he had a premonition, a vision, and he was
Mhm.
told that through this vision, the Welsh would never find themselves unprepared, blah blah blah. But a corpse candle was seen passing along the route to be taken. This is the traditional story, that a corpse candle is a light similar to the flame of a candle that's seen passing along the route to be taken by a funeral. So it preempts the funeral, or it hovers around the spot where an accident would happen, or it's sometimes seen fluttering the edge of the sea where a shipwreck might take place. When two corpse candles are seen, then of course two funerals would take place, and the types of light are can corpse candles are always preemptive, so they before an event. And if the corpse candle was a tall lamp, it or was high above the ground, it foretold the death of a tall man. Or if it was closer to the ground, it would be a woman or a child. And the colors of the lights as well were thought to be significant. Again, for a man, it was said to be a red light, pale blue for a woman, and a faint pale yellow light appeared or would appear before the death of a child. In fact, I can give you a verbatim account. This one dates from the 18th century, from Llandilo, which is about 25 miles away. Several people saw three corpse candles gliding down the river at various times over three successive weeks. The persons compared their experiences and wonder what the omen meant. Was it for the village, or was it for a family that lived in the town? At length, the solution came. Three members of the same family died simultaneously in different parts of the country, and that was recorded in Cambrian superstitions. I mean,
Really?
there are literally hundreds and hundreds of accounts of corpse candles, and the vast majority would be within 50 miles of where I am.
Oh, wow. So,
So,
do you think
I mean,
it's
this is Corpse Candle Central, and I regret I've never seen one. Which, given the fact that they're a death omen, is probably a good thing.
wow? Well, I guess it's trying to get in, and there's we having conflicting things, I believe. I was sent the thing that there was supposed to be a password to get in, and now I've been told there is no password. Did you use a password to get it? No, right?
No, I didn't need it tonight. I didn't need it.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah, but so I guess I think it's trying to put a password in. I don't know, but yeah, this is interesting. And my screen, I have a one I monitor the chat room with, and it's gone purple on me. So I don't know what the hell that means.
Well, while you were fiddling around with the guest, I just pulled a book off the that was written in 1905.
Oh
And
wow!
the corpse, well, the corpse candle goes before the funeral. I was telling you, this is the writer, so not me. I was telling you about my grandfather, that he was very superstitious and saw such things. He and his daughter lived in a small holding not very far away from here. Now he's a Pembrokeshire author, so, and he'd see this corpse candle every time. And one night, he and his daughter were outside the house, and he was saying to his daughter, "Did do you see that corpse candle down there by the hedge?" "No, father, I don't," said the daughter. "I don't see anything." "Do you see the light over there?" "Oh, I see nothing at all." "Well, it's going down through the field, through the gap in the hedge. It's going to that house over there, Tynuith," he said. That's the Welsh name for the house. And they thought nothing more of it until a couple of days later at the house, the girl came to her grandfather to visit. She went home the same day. By the time she got home, her mother had had a stroke and had fallen near the fire and had died. So that actually is interesting about that, is that suggests that this idea of, and it's a Welsh thing as well, of mystical sight. The father could see the corpse candle, but the daughter couldn't see the corpse candle.
So one could and one could.
That's why I chose that one, because what you've got there is two people. Where
That
one,
seems more.
well, there is there is an associated Welsh sort of Welshness of, it's like the Bran Seer in Scotland, where the Welsh, native Welsh, have the gift of second sight. And I think that, I mean, that might illustrate that. In fact, there's another one here. This one was recorded in 1904. Years ago, there was a corpse candle going along the road. You'd see the little light coming, and old Dr. Rowlands was living in near the bridge, and he'd see a light coming. He'd get off his horse at that time. He'd go all over the surrounding area to visit the sick, and then went on horseback. If he saw a pool or puddle of water, he'd put his hat by the water, and in the water he would see who was going to die as the light passed through the hat. If you happen to see, there's lots of variations on the corpse candle idea, and there are literally hundreds. And I mean, I'm looking at this book now, and there's 48 pages of accounts of corpse candles.
Okay.
So, they're certainly not uncommon. I'll just try and pull up another interesting one.
Yeah, I'm still trying to work at getting the guest on board. So you carry on.
Let's see what we can find here. In Wales, Christmas and New Year have long been a time for ghost stories and spooky tales. Corpse candles are directly related to corpse roads. Corpse roads being exactly what the term suggests, old roadways from which during the medieval period were used for taking the dead to the church, chapel, or burial ground. Corpse candles were small balls of yellow or blue light that seemed to hover around these roads, usually at dusk. Skeptics may say, that they were most commonly seen once the innkeeper had closed up shop for the night and sent everybody on their unsteady way home. In rural parts of Wales, before industrialization brought an influx of people and street lighting, legends and folk tales quickly grew up of these strange lights, and it was not long before they left the confinements of the corpse roads and became an entity in themselves. The candles, as people saw them, would testify, invariably traveled in a straight line, taking the direct route from the home of the deceased man or woman to the church or graveyard. Corpse candles would travel over mountains, valleys, rivers, and marshes, never bothering with traditional routes and seeming to be able to travel wherever they wished.
Oh, that's good. I mean, that's just now. These are just from the UK, right?
These are just from Pembrokeshire, the county I live in.
Oh, wow.
3 men were tossed out of their coracle from the river near Llandilo. They were drowned in the accident, and the stories began. It was reported just a few days before. Passengers on the Carmarthen Llandilo stagecoach had seen 3 corpse candles hovering above the water at the exact spot where the 3 men were drowned. 1848 account here. Corpse candles, these lights seem to be of an electrical origin. When the ears of the traveller's horse, the extremity of his whip, his spurs, or any other projecting points appear tipped with pencils and flashes of light, the toes of the rider's boots and even the tufts of hair at the fetlocks of the horse appear to burn with a steady. Now that's St. Elmo's fire. So here we've got somebody describing a physical phenomena. So we've got one account where the father can see it and the daughter can't, and another account here where it seems to have or be connected to Elmo's fire.
Well, it looks like our guest has arrived.
Hello.
Hello, Deb. How are you?
Hello. My goodness, so sorry for the technical difficulties.
Yeah, it's all right. No big deal. I mean, I told Steve all about your work with this institute, and we decided that we wanted to take another look. I mean, a deeper look at it. Institute for the Scientific Study of Consciousness. And
Yes.
when did this organization start?
In 2013.
Okay. So
Dr.
you have a
Melvin
track
Morris
record.
started this group. Dr. Melvin Morris started this group in 2013.
Okay. With me is Steve Parsons. Steve, you're there, right?
Yep, I am.
Okay.
And good evening.
Yeah.
Good evening.
And so how did you get involved in it? Because, I mean, I look at some of the names that are on there, and, you have Dr. Moody is probably one of the most famous of the
Yep.
team dealing with
Raymond.
Yep.
Yeah, Dr. Raymond Moody's pretty awesome.
So how did you get involved?
Well, in 2023, I had a case I was working on downtown in Fort Wayne, and one of my employees that I work for turned me into this contest for Robert Bigelow for the existence of the afterlife. And they're like, you can win a lot of money if you win this. And I had been working with them, finding missing people for 28 years now. So they turned me into this contest. I guess 6 of these guys turned me in. The local Federal Bureau of Investigation guys threw me into this contest. I didn't even know until I got a phone call. And then they asked me to fill out this questionnaire and turn a picture in. And I guess I got in. And yeah.
So
that's the beginning.
What is your role exactly?
My role is I am one of the mediums. I'm 0106 in the Urgent Message for Humanity Bigelow Institute of Conscious Studies. I'm the one that the books, I'm in the book. I was
Okay.
the medium that they used in order to retrieve their information.
Retrieve their information. Okay, so this is all. Steve, are you familiar with this at all?
I'm quite familiar with the Bigelow Institute. In fact, they have an annual essay competition with $1 million prize, which
Exactly.
I believe Ron will may not know. Dr. Cal Cooper, our friend, was
Oh, yeah.
one of essayist winners. I think they came second, and another
Yes.
SP member, Leo Rugby, was also a winner who ultimately went to work for the Bigelow Institute.
Correct.
I have no connection with the Bigelow Institute, except weirdly, on the shelf in my office is an aluminium display model of the Bigelow space station.
Very
What?
cool. That's
Because-
cool.
Wait a minute, wait a minute.
Bigelow made his money in aerospace and had contracts with NASA to design, this is the crazy part, inflatable space stations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
One of
Okay.
these was called Voyager, and they had exhibitions of this inflatable space station, which was actually a real thing. It wasn't as daft as it sounds.
Mhm.
And a number of years ago, I was given a desktop display model that was
Oh,
made
very
for
cool.
Bigelow Aerospace, but not, so that's how he made his money. And then he, together with his son, they run the Bigelow Institute.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I was looking at the website, and once again, this is for the Institute of the Scientific Study of Consciousness. Oh God, we got to take a break already. We just get going.
We just got going.
I know it, but so I really don't have time to start anything. But when we come back, I want to discuss a couple of things. I do have one quick question.
Sure.
Charles Hart. Why does that name sound familiar to me?
Charles Tart is the original foundation for this Institute for Scientific Studies of Conscious. So
Okay.
Dr. Melvin, Charles Tart lit this candle, and Dr. Melvin picked it up.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think
So
what was
Charles-
it?
yeah.
Institute of Transpersonal Psychology, wasn't it? And noetic science.
Yes.
And you'd
Okay,
be
so that's
pleased.
good.
Yeah,
Anyway.
Tart
What's that?
studied. Tart got his qualifications at MIT.
Correct.
Just
You
up
know,
the
I
road.
think I'm getting confused up with Russell Tagg from.
He was involved.
Stargate.
He was kind of involved because Tartan.
Yeah, I do have to go anyways. We have to take the break right now, so we'll talk about this when we get back. Anyways, you're listening to Ghost Chronicles International. When we finally get going, we have to take a break right here on TogiNet Radio, and we're all good. Podcasts go, and we are brought to you by Circles of Wisdom, 386 Merrimack Street, Methuen, Massachusetts. The Gallant Messier Family Law Group, 15 High Street, not 55 High Street, North Andover, Massachusetts. Another address that I screwed up.
They moved
Anyway,
again.
yeah. And of course, our very good friends on Ghost Chronicles Radio on Patreon. And we'll be right back after the following messages with Deb Torres from the Institute. Oh God, I'll never remember that again. What is it? That Institute for the Scientific Study of Consciousness. And we'll be right back. How can I forget names so quickly?
That's okay. I do too.
Yeah,
I tried everything I could, Ron, to get on here. I am so sorry for the delay. I even got on 5 minutes early.
it is what it is. They got rid of
Yeah.
the
Paranormal event, book, or something else you
They
want
got
people
rid
to
of
know
the
about? Then why
password.
not
I
advertise
wasn't
it
aware of
on
that
Ghost
myself.
Chronicles Radio?
So
With over
that was one thing.
150,000 downloads a month,
I
get
don't
your
know.
message
Don't
out
know
to
what
an
to tell you.
audience that's
Sorry.
interested in the subject.
I don't know.
We have a plan
We're
at
here
a
now,
cost
let's
that fits
do
your
this.
needs. For more information, contact Ron Kolick at anyghostproject@comcast.net or call 978-455-6678.
Located in Illinois, there lies a sleepy little town where nothing is a common occurrence.
You going to that party in town tonight? Heck yeah! I only turned 18 once.
Or twice, or 3 times.
That is until the night of celebration.
Where the hell is she? Oh no. No, 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 Jessica! What's happening?
From the creators of Shadowhunters, Bite Me, comes a tale of primal terror, grindcore mayhem. Kill, Jessica! Kill!
Hello, can you hear me? My name is Harry Price. I am speaking to you via the medium of the Ghost Box. Many of you will know I carried out the first live radio broadcast from Haunted House way back in 1936 for the BBC. Now, thanks to the wonders of modern technology, I am still able to keep abreast of 21st century ghost hunting by listening to Ghost Chronicles International on TogiNet, ParaX Radio, the Ghost Channel, and even on something called a podcast. 2 splendid chaps hosted. One is an American who calls himself New England's own Van Helsing, although I have discovered his real name is Ron Kolick. The other is Stephen Parsons, and he's a paranormal scientist. Well, mustache, I am required elsewhere on something called a K2. But don't forget, I'll be listening in every Tuesday from 8 o'clock in Great Britain and 3 o'clock on the American Eastern Seaboard. I trust you will join me there.
Well, whatever that was, this is the second half of the first half of tonight's 2 hours of Ghost Chronicles Mayhem. And our special guest tonight, joining us from the, let me just get the name right, the Institute for the Scientific Study of Consciousness, is psychic medium Deb Torres, who interestingly holds the world record for altering a beam of electrons with her mind for over 32 minutes. Good evening, Deb.
Good evening. Thank you so much for having me today.
Well, thank you for coming. Okay, I found out one of my problem was I didn't have my soundboard on.
I'm sorry about this. I mean, he's now faded away.
I'm going.
Oh, am I here?
No, I was talking about my co-host. He seems to have gone into the ether somewhere. But we were talking about Charles Tart as we came through the break. And if I'm right in remembering, didn't it back in the 60s, wasn't he conducted some of the early out-of-body experiments?
Yes, sir.
With, I can't remember all the details now. But it was late 60s? And he was one of the first of the out-of-body researchers where she had a strange name, Miss, it was a letter, A, B, C, Z, whatever. And they connected it up to an electroencephalograph.
Correct.
And then went to sleep in another room and et cetera, et cetera.
Correct.
So, Charles is obviously very well known in parapsychology circles. And I think primarily he's an electrical engineer. I think he's...
you're right.
He's one of the few who aren't a psychologist, in that I would describe him as a paraphysicist. And so he's on my side of the fence, so to speak, because my main interest is in the environment and how it interacts with people.
Correct.
And I know that Charles is one of, how would you describe him? He doesn't come at it from a psychological perspective.
Correct. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
More
we'll find out.
Yeah.
So is Ron
Yeah.
speaking of consciousness? Ron, are you conscious?
Can you hear me? Oh, screw this.
Actually,
I can hear you.
Ron will like this as well, because I think, if I'm right, Tart also constructed an automatic ESP testing device. Wasn't it called ESP tester or ESP tester or something with?
I'm not quite sure that name, but you're right. He did invent that. Yes.
Yeah. So, what is your role in the Institute?
Okay. So they call on me if things need found. So, for example, it is a remote viewing, and that's how I use my gift. I use remote viewing. Dr. Melvin, he is my monitor, and he puts me into a full trance, and that's how I retrieve the information. I'm given 9 digits, just a random 9-digit number. Whatever 9-digit number is assigned to the item missing or needing found. It's given to me in an envelope. That's all I get. I get no names, no location, no nothing. The envelope is placed in front of me. I open the envelope. I have a piece of paper in front of me, and my monitor, as Dr. Melvin, sits in front of me, and off I go. Once I'm in,
just so that 9-digit is just simply a reference number to a case or a object or a person or a location, that you just have the reference number and no other information.
Correct. And the reference number is made up by whomever is giving me the task. So if I'm tasked to find, let's pretend that the number is assigned to a guitar in France. Okay. So what will happen is Dr. Melvin puts the intention of this number, attaches it to this guitar in France. So his intention, and only he will know the number and the intention and where that number's going.
Okay.
So the task is so it's like a fingerprint per se. So that fingerprint is out in the universe somewhere. Find the fingerprint. Here's your 9 digits. Now find the fingerprint. That's
what to the Stargate, right? What they did at Stargate, where they would just get coordinates and they would go to those coordinates without leaving it and describe everything.
Correct. With Stargate, though, it was a little slightly different. I believe it was 4 digits or 5 perhaps, and they would give them a target location. For example, they would say, this is in France. This is in Spain. This is in United States of America.
Oh, USSR.
They gave them a little bit more. Me and my fellow mediums that were tasked this were just given 9 numbers. That's it. And then we were supposed to retrieve what was asked of us.
Now, you said that your doctor, I've forgotten his name now. Forgive me.
Melvin Morris.
Dr. Melvin.
Yes.
He is sitting with you when you open the envelope, and that he has assigned the reference to the object, place, person, etc.
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes it comes from a different source, but
Okay.
most of the time, yes.
So would he normally be aware of the reference and the object?
During training, when he was training me to do this, when he was training me or showing me how to correctly remote view, he would know what the number is, yes.
Because
as time went on, I'm sorry.
Well,
go ahead.
It begs the control question of how
how
can we differentiate between remote viewing and mind reading?
Mhm.
Are you
That's
picking
a very good question.
Because if he knows both object and reference, is there a control in the experiment whereby they can differentiate that you're not just simply reading his mind?
Yes.
Or it's a form of thought transference?
Correct. So, for example, when he was training me, of course, he had to know the coordinates so that he would know that I was actually retrieving the correct item. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
So during the training, of course, he knew what the 9-digit number was attached to.
Right.
Then we had to go rogue. Yes, then we had to go rogue. And that's how he found out which mediums were real and which ones were not. And I personally do not like to be called a medium. I like to be called a spiritual sight trainer. I'm a spiritual sight trainer.
Well,
mediums, because I don't read people's minds. I don't know how to do that. I don't know what that is.
Well, do you speak to the dead? That's either a yes or no. There's no middle ground.
Now, that's a very good question, though, because there is no death. Nothing ever dies. We're always evolving.
We're talking about the corporal body. We're not talking about...
Okay, the corporal body, yes. Yes, then okay. I guess I do speak to dead people then, in that arena, yes.
Yeah, because...
I think, Debs, you need to have a word with whoever's doing the webpage for your institute then, because they're calling you a psychic medium there.
Yes.
I know. I just personally don't like that label.
Oh,
it's just a personal preference.
Incidentally,
my
have
family...
a word with Colonel John Alexander, because he is the spitting image of John Travolta.
That's because he is. Don't say anything.
He's so cool, isn't he?
Deb,
He's so cool.
I have actually a question because, as I mentioned the last time I had you on the show, on the Next Generation show, is that I've been studying the red light seance for 14 years. Well, I came across, what is that experiment we're doing a variation of, Steve? Is that the coil? Boy, what the heck is it called?
What?
The experiment we just derived. It's a takeoff on the, was it coil or?
No, the one done by Cook, William Cook.
I know it was a C, so I was close. I got the CO. I was 50%.
You were in the same alphabet.
Yes. Anyways, so I came across that, and I wanted to see if we can incorporate that into the seance, which is a form of it's a form of remote viewing in a way. It just depends on how you get the information. And the problem was that we use it in the seance. It's a physical mediumship seance, so we get information, and we have 3 books that are in another room that no one knows about except the monitor. They're turned to a certain page that only the monitor knows what page. Once those page numbers are given to him in an envelope, and then a third person will give out a sentence number, I believe, or a paragraph number, one or the other. And we attempt to have the spirit connect with whatever is out in the table, what book 1, page, whatever's open, and sentence number 16, and then relay that information to us.
Perfect. That's a really cool. Yes, that's very familiar.
That was derived by Steve and myself. My question, though, is, now that I'm thinking about it, is we really can't tell that a spirit has given us the information, or is it just a form of remote viewing?
Okay. Well, sometimes it's so hard to explain. Sometimes it's so hard to put things into words what my mind wants to say. Does that make sense?
No, mine is like that all constantly.
What you guys created is a very similar, familiar to me protocol. That's very familiar. When we went rogue, like when I said that we went through the training, and then that showed who could do it, who couldn't. Then people left. People weren't welcome back. When we went rogue, a random lady in West Virginia sent 7 numbers in 7 sealed envelopes randomly through the mail to Fort Wayne and was picked up at a post office from Dr. Melvin. So there's no way he could even know what any of those were.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how we got down to the real nitty gritty and saying, okay, wait a minute. This can't be mind reading because there's no way they could know what these things are.
Right.
There's no way they could know from some random woman in West Virginia. So that's kind of how when we.
How do we distinguish in the scenario that I just mentioned that we aren't remote viewing it versus a spirit really seeing it and reporting back to us?
Okay, and see, that's where my brain cuts things in two. So I can move my consciousness to the location to retrieve the information.
Mm-hmm.
I don't speak to spirit to retrieve that information.
Right.
That makes sense.
But that's.
So do you see why I have a problem with?
You do that because it's you. But how could we tell if it was somebody else what they were actually doing? The only thing, and of course, if someone is remote viewing, then they would have to have an effect on the physical communication as well. In other words, that would be like, that would have to be, but that could be done either consciously or subconsciously too. Shoots. That's
right.
Yeah. Oh man.
It makes it hard to explain. See, this is tricky because personally, I've got a set of beliefs, but then I see what happens in the environment and spiritually and in the universe. So it's kind of blended.
Mm-hmm. The one thing we did notice though is that when we supposedly made contact with the spirit and we asked them if they could see us, they could see the room, yada yada. We gave them their assignment, what they were asked what we asked of him to do or her to do. And the interesting part is that everything went quiet for a short period of time, and then it came back. It seemed like they left and came back, type of thing. So that was intriguing to me. That was probably the most intriguing thing of the night. It was that period of time where it just went quiet for a while and then came back. And so, I'm not sure, like I said, I'm really not sure whether we are remote viewing or are we connecting with spirits.
Yeah. I think that's a very interesting, amazing question. I don't know. Because I know that I personally leave myself to retrieve any information, but I don't talk to spirit to get it.
Okay. I get it.
So it sounds like you guys are remote viewing too. That's what it sounds like to me.
How can you say that not knowing the people involved? It's kind of.
It sounds like though, but it sounds so familiar. You said they leave and it goes quiet for a while, and then they come back with the right information. Correct.
So are you saying if it was spirit, he wouldn't have to leave?
Correct.
Wouldn't have to go into the next room, look at the book and the page number that was given to him. I mean, the sentence.
Correct.
Interesting.
Correct. It would be given directly immediately.
But
because doesn't spirit on the other side have all answers?
You have nothing to base that on other than your own experiences, right?
Correct.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep, that's just a personal but that, yeah, like I said, that should, like, if you said they disappeared for a while, well, I disappear for a while too
Right.
when I'm doing the.
So that doesn't
Yeah.
really work
It
one
just
way or
sounds
another.
familiar.
Okay, it's interesting.
Very
Steve,
interesting.
Steve, what did you think of that?
It's fascinating to hear the different. And I'm thinking back through case law, or not case law, through the archives. I'm thinking. I mean, there are comparable events that we have documented. We have the Mongoose case
And the Bell
from
Witch too.
Man, because no, not the Bell Witch.
Yeah, the Bell Witch as well.
Well, the Mongoose used to. It claimed it was a spirit. Used to go off for several days and come back from the local town with all of the gossip, and who was
Bell Witch would do that same thing, Steve.
Oh well, the Bell Witch was doing it as well. Then.
Yeah.
So they would, and who was sleeping with who, and who'd spoken, and it's also in another way reminiscent of the out of body experience.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
another thing to think about
Where
too.
people tend to, they float above their bodies in surgery, or in some of the more bizarre cases, they elevate clean out of the operating theatre and above the roof of the building. So, are we dealing with remote viewing, or are we dealing with something that's? And this comes back to the institute itself, because is consciousness tied to the person, or is consciousness something that we tap into? And I know that there are lots of researchers, and there is historical precedence for this idea of a cosmic mind, and that our brain simply is kind of like an antenna that dips in and out of this consciousness.
In reality, I believe and this is my own opinion, is I believe that reincarnation is that's exactly what it is. It's just tapping into the greater consciousness. But that's just my own opinion, because
I agree with you, Ron.
It's not a new idea either. I mean, we've got religions talking about this 400-500 years ago.
I know, but the thing is, we define what we witness and what we experience from the times we are in.
Correct.
Right?
We do live
Go ahead.
We live in an age, in an era where we are very self-focused, and in fact, increasingly becoming more and more self-focused. How do we feel? How do we respond? How does that make you feel? And so we are kind of pulling away from a group consciousness or a world consciousness and becoming more isolated as individuals. More
I believe that. Yeah.
We are being educated by state, by society, to become more introverted and less conjoined,
unified
with each other.
And see, that's where I come in, and that's why I think God put me here at this time in my life right now.
I've got to ask, Debs, can you do the lottery numbers?
My husband's got me on that one already. But
I know we are running out of time, and Steve brought something up at the beginning of the show, and I'd like more explanation on it.
Please.
And that, of course, is the movement of the stream.
Yes.
Could you go explain the experiment and what was done?
Okay, I was placed into a bedroom with nothing. It was a blank room. It looked like a blank bedroom to me, with nothing on the walls. There was a plastic chair. There was 1, 2, 3 computers going. There was I was hooked up to some kind of a machine, it felt like. Now you have to bear with me, because I'm a full trance medium, so some things I don't recall.
Totally understand.
So, but I'll do my best. So when I'm hooked to this machine, I was put into a deep trance, And that day that I broke the record, I was in trance for 3 hours and 33 minutes on that day.
And what exactly did you do?
Uh,
As far as what was the results of this deep trance? What occurred for 32 minutes?
I can only tell you what was told to me, if that's okay, because I wasn't okay. Things in the room, black balls were going in and out of the walls. The lights were going off and on. Things were levitating off the floor. I was able to, I can push my energy, I guess, meaning people can feel when I'm there via spirit, like my soul. You can feel when my soul's there. It's so hard to explain.
Not really. It sounds more like the experiments done way back at the start of the 20th century, late 19th, where people were visiting one another astrally.
Yeah, it's kind of that. And then the next thing I know, I wake up. Well, I come back to my body, and I am subconscious for a good 6 hours. Subconscious means I'm not able to really fully think. I can't drive. I can't, put senses together. I'm subconscious. I'm kind of boiled.
That state of mind.
I'm so sorry, I didn't catch that.
So I think Ron can empathize with that state of mind, being subconscious and not fully with it.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Beats the bell, by the way.
Yeah, I heard that. Which it's great to have the bell back, by the way. So thank you, Roy, for that. It does give us a head up. Unfortunately, Deb, you cannot believe us, but we're out of time.
Oh, we didn't get started.
Well, what can we tell you? If someone was in on time, we would have had a little bit more time.
Hey, I was trying to get in.
You don't know how you dodged the bullet there.
Yeah, all these mediums, they just like, I don't know.
I'm a spiritual site trainer.
I'm just kidding to you. Yeah, it's interesting. We would like to have some other guys from the Institute on the show. I don't know if you can arrange that. You certainly can go on with them as well, because it would be an interesting conversation.
I'll sure try. I can sure try. I'll give them the invite.
Yeah, because we are, I am anyways, and I believe Steve is too, most interested in this work. We haven't got into some of the studies that they are doing.
It's just fascinating. And we had a book that came out, An Urgent Message for Humanity. The Institute of Scientific Studies of Conscious and Bigelow Institute teamed up, and this book is for sale online on YouTube, on Amazon rather.
I got a copy of.
Of course you do.
I've got a personal book coming out next month too, called A Message of Hope, and it talks about how my gifts turned on at age 8 and everything. So maybe we'll have everybody on and promote this, huh?
I'm being turned off by the producers telling me time is up. So, Deb, thank you so very much for being on the show. And I will put your personal information on the site for the book and so forth as well.
All right, thank you. Thanks so much, everybody.
All right, good night, everyone.
Thank you, Deb.
Bye, guys. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Stay tuned for Chronicles and the Poltergeist case. We'll be back. Bye.
From ghoulies to ghosties, long-leggedy beasties, and things.